All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining our last Platform Analytics Academy session for 2023. I keep trying to really take in that this year is getting ready to come to an end, but thank you all for joining. We're going to do something a little bit differently that we haven't done in the past, and we're just going to kind of talk about the sessions that we have done this year, and then, of course, based on those sessions, obviously, some information about just where Platform Analytics is as it related in 2023 and some things that have come out. So real quickly, we'll get through the same logistical information that we always do. So understand this is for you. And again, if you have not attended all of the sessions this year, then you will this will give you an idea into the sessions that are out there, and then hopefully help you decide whether or not you want to go back and watch that, or at least have that in your back pocket in case you need it or whatnot. But again, this is for you, so we're trying to make sure that we can bring you some practical guidance around all of our Academy sessions for the year. This obviously is being recorded, and it will be out on our community page later on today, early tomorrow morning, and as well as our YouTube page as well. Q&A, please feel free to ask any questions. Myself and a couple of my coworkers are on. I believe it is Dan, Tara, and Adam. Yep, they're all here. So they can definitely answer questions if they can via type. And if we need to do those out loud, we can definitely do those as well. Click on the right screen here. There we go. Safe Harbor, going to go ahead and leave this in here because there are some sessions that we did have towards the latter part of this year that did definitely have some things in there that were forward looking. So I want to make sure that you continue to understand that as we look through all of the content that we have for you today. So again, my name is Thomas Davis, and I have Tara, Adam, and Dan with me. Thank you all for joining. And like I said, they're here to answer questions. And any one of you all, please feel free to come off mute and add anything that you felt like I have missed. So like I said, so Platform Analytics 2023 in review. So this is talking about our Academy sessions. And then, of course, if any of those coincide with, things that have just happened in 2023, then we definitely will talk about those things as well. So again, our intent for this is to go through every one of the sessions quickly, but not too quick, but understanding that we had quite a few in the year. It would be hard to spend a great deal of time on all of those within, the hour that we have. So if you have any further questions about any of the ones that we talk about, please feel free to ask those questions. So this past January, we kicked this year off with talking about visualizations. And our thought process around this was there's a lot of visualizations out there. Are you familiar with them all? Do you really understand which one you should use? And how are those visualizations changing from core UI over to Platform Analytics Workspace at the time and now Next Experience? So the idea behind that session was just to give you an overall idea of just which visualization. It is a question. So I think people quite often get caught up in using what they're familiar with, but there could very well be visualizations out there that would serve the purpose of whatever you're trying to iterate to your organization in a much better way. And the idea behind this session was to show you that. This is a image that has been around for a while. Adam Stout, who is on, loves this, and I do as well, the more that I've looked at it. And this is really a great way of understanding and making some decisions around what kind of visualization that you should be using. And the idea that in this session was to just talk about all of them, score, time series bar, donut pie, multi-dimensional visualizations, and other visualizations. That way, you as a customer would have a better idea and hopefully use different ones that maybe you haven't used in the past. Or if you were ever confused or didn't really know what one was, the idea behind this was to actually share those with you so you could actually see those. The great thing about this particular sessions is it is embedded with demos for all of the different visualizations. And I created those in what we call the core UI, and also at that time in Platform Analytics Workspace. So it's actually going to show you all of those different visualizations. So again, if this is something that you're not familiar with, then definitely go back and check this one out from earlier, right at the beginning of the year. And again, it was called Which Visualizations. And Dan, Tara, and Adam, please stop me if there's any question that comes in.
There is a question.
Okay. Scheduled reports.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. in PDF format instead of Excel. If I update a scheduled report, it's working fine. Please suggest. I might be a little confused.
I'm not quite sure which one's the problem.
Maybe Anonymous can give us a little bit more. I mean, do any one of you?
No, I would get this. The reports, when I'm sending reports in PDF, they're sending in PDF instead of Excel. So the only thing, just to confirm, you can only do lists in Excel. The other reports don't come through as Excel files. The data doesn't come in. It's so I could see this. If I were trying to export a bar chart, it's not a bar chart in Excel. Even if you select it, it won't work. Those are always PDFs, or I think we can do PNGs as well. But the only report that you can export as Excel are list reports today. So I think that's the question. You can put a follow up if you want. And coming through now, if you're trying to export a list and it's not exporting as Excel, and you have Excel selected in the scheduled report, then please put a case in, because it shouldn't do that. But it's PDFs. Most reports are exported as PDF. Safe harbor to come through. Thanks, Thomas, for starting that off. We are planning a CreatorCon session at Knowledge for all of us going to Knowledge about how to do some more advanced output for save reports. Although it's still PDF focused, we are looking at how to empower you to do a lot more with that stuff.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adam. Dan, I know that you typed an answer for that particular one, but I'll go ahead and hit that one real quick where it said, where do we get the slides? Yeah. So all of you'll see here that we have a link and also a QR code that you can scan. It will take you directly to the community event where all of this information sits. And in each one of those community events, there is an attached PDF. It's not an attached PowerPoint, but it is an attached PDF of that actual session. But you can watch the YouTube video that is embedded also in the community event, and it will correlate with the PDF that you have. So all of these sessions, like I said, you can type in the link or scan the QR code, and it will take you to that to get that PDF of the actual session itself. So the next one that we did, we talked about automation and analytics, which is something that should hopefully, and hopefully it did after the session, excite everyone. Anytime that you can automate anything, we feel as though that is definitely a win. And what we tried to do in this session was to talk to that. So what are the things that are available that I can do some automation, as it relates to jobs and events and flows, and how we can use those to create, some automation within ServiceNow as it relates to platform analytics. And the agenda for this particular one was talking about the event registry, the performance analytics events, flow designer, and of course there was a demo and there's some useful links in Q&A. And I think the Q&A, if I remember this one, was really, really good as well. But again, taking those different things and making it do some automated things based on the different things there. So we had some use cases here where we talked about, when a data collection completes with warnings, we will automatically generate a task with a priority of 3 and assign to the appropriate assignment group. So again, it's looking at the job logs and noticing that there is a warning, and then of course creating a task. So we just tried in this session to create some different use cases and actually created those directly into the session itself to help you one with if these particular use cases are the only ones that you have, which I doubt, but at least get you to start looking and seeing all of these different things in a different way to work between one another. Using workflows to make something do another thing is again a really great solution, and we tried as hard as we could to kind of show that, to at least get you, a good step forward in thinking about that information. And again, there's demos in that one as well that are embedded. So make sure that you check that one out. If you have some things where automating some analytics is something that you've talked about or within your organization itself has asked for. So that's a really great session for that. So the next one is
Hey, Thomas.
ITSM on mobile. So mobile has some really great features as it relates to performance analytics and reporting. And quite often, I did a session actually on this a couple years ago, and it was more of a, hey, here's how you can upload a performance analytics report or a graph, and here's how you can do a reporting graph. And it was very general. And what we decided, or we thought that we should do, is actually show some ITSM information. So we had a guest speaker who was actually able to show us that. And inside of his agenda, he was able to show, ServiceNow, the experience and displaying reporting charts and performance analytics, like I had talked about. And then he actually did some demo data where he actually showed the ITSM mobile agent reporting and did a demo on that as well. And here you can kind of see these are some screenshots of what you see and the understanding of helping you understand what was actually inside of the Academy session. And then even further than that, these were the reporting ones, and then the performance analytics at the time, and then actually showing ITSM mobile agent reporting. So if this is something that you weren't familiar with, or if you didn't actually know that could be possible, then this is another great session that you can definitely check out, especially if mobile is something that is very important within your organization, and maybe higher ups are always asking for, how do I see something on my phone? Well, I don't want to get on my laptop or something like that. These are really great sessions that can help spark that conversation and create some of those things that we have. And we felt as though ITSM was really important to show that, and really great guest speaker that outlined it very well, and some demos as well that were inside of that Academy session. We good on questions? Yeah. Okay, so the next one was a big one, right? Homepage deprecation, and this one, there was a lot of conversation around this. So we've been using homepages, but we want you to use dashboards. So there were some years where the talk up talking about going to this and deprecating homepages. And what this session was by one of our inbound PMs, Marta, was a really great session that actually showed how the homepage deprecation tool works, and the reason why we want to move everybody from home pages to dashboards. And they're obviously later on in this year, we actually talked about moving core UI dashboards to Next Experience, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But this was one of those sessions where it was really to help you understand why we didn't want, we were moving away from, home pages and getting people to use dashboards itself. And in this particular session, she walked through that entire process from the beginning to the end of helping you understand why we did this and who will be affected and how did the feature work. And she actually demoed inside of the session the process from selecting home pages to have them deprecate or change over to dashboards. She showed that entire process directly within the session via demos. So again, slide or the PDF is attached for this. And if this is something that you are still at within your organization and need some help with some understanding and how to communicate that out to the organization and actually start that process, then this is definitely the session that you want to check out. And like I said, the recording is embedded via YouTube, and check that out. And again, really great session, very powerful. So make sure that you definitely check that out. We're good on questions.
Hey, Thomas, before you move on, if you wanted to kind of add a little side note in there, if regardless of whether or not you've watched that recording, if you haven't moved off of homepages yet and you, for some reason, you absolutely have to go and watch this recording and move on that, because it's coming to a critical point where it could impact you if you haven't made that leap yet. So if you haven't seen this recording, go watch it now, because it is critically important that you take care of that.
Great. Thank you, Tara. So the next one, and these types of sessions that we're looking at now happen a couple times a year. So earlier in the year, we had what's new in Utah as it relates to platform analytics. And again, we had our guest speakers from our inbound team that actually came on and showed all of that stuff. So if you are not quite to Utah yet, but on your way and want to know, what's new as it relates to platform analytics, this is definitely a good session for you as well. And in this, some of the Utah highlights that were actually talked about and demoed was usability improvements to the dashboard, new data visualizations or improved ones, and filter enhancements. So here you can see that, some dashboard enhancements that were there, and all of this was talked about directly within the session. New visualizations, improving some visualizations that we already had, and then filter enhancements, which was a really big one that we talked about and showed that. The really great thing about this session was the amount of questions that it stimulated. And it stimulated so many questions that it actually motivated us into having another, what's new sort of in Utah, but it was an Ask the Experts type session. So if you have not attended any of the Ask the Experts or the Q&A type sessions, these are really good, and it is an opportunity for you to come with your questions. And it makes me think of the last one we did actually 2 weeks ago, and there was a gentleman who came in and he had all 9 of his questions ready and he laid them out, and I thought it was just really awesome. But this is an opportunity for you to ask questions, and this one specifically was around Utah and next experience analytics, and there probably was some other questions that were thrown in there. But with these sessions, when you're in the YouTube, I actually put the chapters as questions. And then when you look in the community, I also have the questions listed out with the links. You can go directly to the recording, to the spot inside of the recording, as opposed to you having to sort of search back and forth of where the particular question is that you're interested in. So this one, again, was right after the what's new, because we just had so many questions. We felt it was important to give that time as opposed to moving on to something else. So we did do another session, and check those out, because there's probably some questions on there that you have, and it is a great way to get that question directly. Some are answered aloud and some are answered via type. And even the ones that are answered via type, I actually have those inside the community as well. So definitely go and check that out. So we have some questions. Let's see. Where can we get more info on the automating improvements for analytics that will be in Washington? Will there be release notes? Is anything available yet? So with like any other release, there definitely will be release notes. Now, and Adam or Tara, Dan, if you know specifically if there's anything around automating that safe harbor that's possibly coming with Washington, and you want to speak with that, please do. But release notes will definitely come out a little bit prior to when it's actually released.
Yeah, so the general dates, the documentation release notes should be coming out in February with the early access. So that stuff goes out there. We'll have our what's new and be talking about what's in there. And then there are several of us very, very excited about the automation enhancements. It's stuff I've been waiting for a long time. We could do it before like we did in the session, but it's so much easier and nicer now. A lot of great work done that we'll see in Washington. So I think we'll see an update for that session that we talked about for automation coming in hopefully Q1. But we'll be talking a lot in February, March, April about what's new, and then it'll be all over at Knowledge if we get to see you in Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Adam. PA diagnosis results found tab pages that appear to be linked to phased out home pages. Should these errors be ignored, or they eventually fall off the report? Terry, you got anything on that?
By Tara,
Sorry, I had to come off. I had to come off mute. That's an interesting scenario. It should just eventually fall off, but it depends on whether or not those home pages actually deprecated or if they're just not being used anymore.
Well, but the tab pages, I thought
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought the structure, I think they'll fall off, and I wouldn't worry about them too much. But I just don't recall this area exactly. But for responsive dashboards, there at least used to be a homepage created too in the background. It was a pseudo page to have some compatibility and things to work. So that specifically, if you can, I'd post it in the community. You can tag a few of us, and we can take a look at the screenshot to see if there's anything in there. But I'm not super worried about that in the PA diagnostics, because I think it just might be the pseudo homepage, which allowed for some compatibility when we migrated from home pages.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, and particularly if the homepage name is like new something or PA underscore, I don't recall, but there's a prefix for the home pages that were created as tabs on PA. So not super worried about it. Again, a great question in the community, or you can put a case in, and we can double check it there. And then I think that'll be fine when we do
As
the.
long as they've deprecated their home pages, it should be fine.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not super concerned about that. And when we move from, we'll get to it later. When we move from responsive dashboards over into performance analytics experience, that's when I would be concerned if it got flagged there and something I need to address. But I think you're probably fine.
Okay, great. Thank you both. And RJ did show up, so I promoted him. So if we need to lean on RJ,
You promoted him.
I did.
All right.
I promoted him.
All right.
Yeah. So thanks, RJ.
There goes your time. It's
yeah, we will
go
have to
ahead.
watch that. So yeah, it's fine.
I'll stay quiet.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Okay, so great. So the next thing that we talked about was reporting function fields, tips and tricks, and this was another great session that if you've been trying to use or even figure out the function fields inside of the reporting, this was an opportunity to actually see those work. And we did have I guess another inbound PM of ours. Actually, he might be on the outbound side now, Isaac, who actually came and did some demos. But this one was one where we talked about what is a function field and what's its purpose, and this what we have now as it relates to function fields was released a couple releases ago, and we actually had a part of one of our what's new talked about these in pretty great length, but we thought it definitely needed a standalone session of its own. And so we talked about that, and we helped you understand what the operators were and all the different ones that were supported and exactly what they meant. So again, going back to the witch visualizations in early January that we had, quite often you'll see a lot of things and the question is, do you know what all of them mean and how they can work for you? So we felt it was important to explain all of those different operators and how they actually worked. And then we were able to actually do some examples of function field examples, and then these were actually built out into a demo right inside of the session as well. And if you have been on any session with Isaac or familiar with him, he does really great demos as well. So it was awesome having him on and him actually doing some demos. So again, if you have function field questions, or if it's new to you and you don't quite understand it, or just want to bring yourself up to speed on it, this would be a session that you would definitely want to check out as it relates to that. And I see a question came in, Dan. You're going to grab that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably a good one just for us to just have a quick discussion on. The question was, can function fields be used in PA? And I guess what we're really talking about is the ability to transform a field or maybe a combination of fields into a new piece of data at the record by record level. And generally PA is not designed for that. However, what you can do is within a formula, you could say that I want to do what I want to get out of a particular data set is the difference in time between the start date and the end date. If that's not a field that's captured in the form, but that I would say that would probably be through either formula indicators or something that would have to be scripted.
No, with function fields, the UI doesn't show it to you in function fields today, but you can use function fields for that. You need to be careful for all the things you said. But I'm pretty sure we talked about that use case in here. So if you go back, if you jump to the link, to the short link and go to the chapter on it, hopefully it's in there. But you can use function fields. When I've done it, the biggest issue I have is a lot of times they're strings and they're things that I really want to be a choice list. So it doesn't negate the use case of creating a new field, like a choice field. The example, super small in here, but the example is getting the first, sorry. This is putting the number in with the short description. But if you were looking for something like a breakdown on does this string contain something, you could do that in place of a PA script. I'm probably going to still use buckets because I still need to get to a sysid for breakdowns. I'm going to use it oftentimes for breakdowns. You could do the same thing for a filter for condition, but I don't know that you would need a function for that necessarily. But they do work. The use cases are somewhat limited because they're all done real time or collection time rather than date save. You can't use score start or score end, which is normally what we'll do with those translations. But I'm pretty sure we talked about those use cases here. The biggest trick is you go define it in a report, and it does add the field to the table, and then once it's on the report, you can then go in and use that in PA. But be careful; it doesn't change the general practice of add a real field. It should be a choice list. Make it a choice list for those strings. Since we can't break down on strings, we need those sysids. You're generally going to want to do that by adding a real field, not a function field. But it does work, and there are valid use cases on why you'd want to do it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dan and Adam.
Perfect.
Both.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a good question.
Okay. So the next one after that, we talked about metric indicators in Platform Analytics Workspace. So this is a topic that we have covered a couple years ago, and we did it within the Core UI dashboard or the dashboard. And in this particular session, we replicated all of that, and we did it inside of at the time Platform Analytics Workspace, which is now Platform Analytics Experience. So I want to make sure that I put that there. But this was a session where we actually talked about, what is a metric, what it means, what can you do with it. If you're familiar with metrics, they are very powerful. If you're not familiar with metrics, then this is a great session for you to check out to get some better understanding of what exactly is a metric and what it can do for you. And in this particular one, we had a demo where we actually did some creating and then also created some definitions, and then we actually used those inside of different information. And these were embedded videos that were inside of the presentation itself, so we can actually walk you through how to set up all of that different information. So again, metric indicators are awesome and very powerful, and it does give you some power to do some really good things with some information. So if this is something that you're interested in, if you've never seen it, or if you just need a refresh, then this is definitely something you should check out. And the demos that we did were average duration of assignments and average unassigned durations, but there's plenty of use cases that are out there. These are the particular ones that we did. So again, check that out if you have the time. And with anything that I sort of talk about today, any one of these sessions, if you have more questions around any of those after you've looked at it, then please feel free to tag me, hit me up in the community, and we'll see if we can get you an answer to that. But this again was another great session that we had. KPI signals, an awesome one. One that hopefully will get some traction and get used even more. This was again a guest speaker session that we had where someone came in and actually talked through KPI signals and then had some demos to actually show what its power was and how you can use it and situations where you should be using it. And in this, he did an introduction about signals and how to configure those. And then, of course, he demoed those, and we had some really great questions around that as well. So he talked about the benefits of KPI signals, why you should use them, the different types of KPI signals that are there. And there are quite a few, and actions that you can have based on KPI signals, and responsibility, like who should man these, who should take care of these. And then notifications, how you can set up notifications based off of KPI signal happen. And then again, like I said, notifications. So this was a great session that talked about it and got really deep with it, and that's a really good session that helps you. Especially, it wasn't so much a very high level, like, okay, this is what KPI signals is, and go figure it out. It was, this is what it is, and we're going to help you figure it out by making sure that you understand everything that is there. And this was a great session, like I said, from a guest speaker. So again, if you're not familiar, if you haven't used, or if you need to just reacclimate yourself to KPI signals and what their value is, this is a great session that you should definitely check out. We good on questions? Okay, good. So the next one that we did was using UX analytics to optimize web experience. So user analytics is really what that is, user experience. And basically, this was a guest speaker as well that came in and actually showed how you can use user analytics, user experience analytics to actually see some really good information. And then, of course, optimize, show how you can actually optimize and get great things out of it. This is one of those things that is definitely getting more traction. And I can remember being a former customer, and this was one of the things that we were always trying to figure out. Sort of what's the journey of someone when they come into ServiceNow, kind of what they are doing, which way are they being led, and things like that. So this is definitely something that can help you with that. And like I said, he came in and really talked about all the different levels of whatnot of how you can actually see what's going on. And he talked about that in great length, and talked about the key features of user analytics, user experience analytics. And then, of course, he showed the way that it would look inside of some new dashboards that have been created for user analytics, user experience analytics. I keep forgetting that one word. So this is a great way to see that what is there, what is out of the box, what's there that is available for you as it relates to this information. And again, if this is something that you're not quote unquote familiar with, then or even if you are and you haven't capitalized on it as of yet, this would be a great starting point for you to check out and see what you can within your organization can actually do. So Dan, I know that this is your baby. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
No, not really. I think that was good.
Okay.
I was just thinking that same thing. It's like, yeah, I'm just listening to that, thinking there's anything I want to add. No, like that's good.
Okay, great. All right. So, and we're still good on questions. Yep. Okay. So after that, we did manual indicator best practices. So this was a session where we talked about, using manual indicators that, scores aren't collected from anything. So manual indicators are, typed in information that somebody puts in, and they're not necessarily retrieved or whatnot from ServiceNow instance because it comes from an outside system or whatnot. So we talked about the different ways that you could use manual indicators. And then also we actually talked about is there better solutions or whatnot. So of course, we're always going to define what that is. What is a manual indicator and why would you use a manual indicator? We talked about that. And we definitely had some best practices around if you're going to use them, the way that you should use them, and hopefully encouraged some different maybe ways from a best practice perspective that you should be using those. And again, these are all demos that are embedded directly into the movie and of course the slide deck as well. So here's an opportunity if you're maybe have gotten stumped on something within manual indicators or have been thinking about having to use them. Like I said, we talked about the best practices around those, and hopefully if we can prevent somebody from using one, we might want to do that as well. But and what we tried to do is to show that there are better ways that we can improve that experience with different tools that are actually there. So, creating a table and, doing those different things and adding information in there and updating that particular information inside of that table and things like that. So again, a really great session. Maybe not, the pop and frill of some of the other ones, but it is something that is used. And if it's something that you are using and, maybe you have some things that you'd like to change about that and looking at this one and actually paying attention to the best practices of some things that you should be doing. And then also, can you get a different experience out of all of it is definitely one of the things that you should look at as it relates to manual indicators. And Adam, I'll just hit you up because I know that when I remember in this session that there was a lot of questions around this, and I know that you were always able to give some really good insight. So is there anything that you would like to add that I missed?
Don't use manual indicators.
I did say that.
That was kind of our theme. Yeah.
Reaffirming it. Yeah. Make sure you know the use case is great for testing, of course. But as we talked about there, the auditability and the automation, and how do I get out of having a manual indicator in the next phase? If you're using manual indicators, make sure you go back and watch this and validate what you're using for there's not a better way, because quite often there is a better way to do it. than just using a manual indicator.
Yeah. Yeah. RJ, you good with typing that one, or you want to say it out loud for everybody? Okay, I'll take that as he's going to type that. All right, thank you.
There are better things are changing. There's some great stuff happening to come through in 24. I think that's what RJ is talking about, but we hear you, right? Lots of pieces and lots of things to come in, and simplifying that is certainly a big goal we have. And I look at it as, very related teams in the same team that took reporting and PA widgets and simplified them into the next experience. So I'm looking forward to similar avenues going forward about how do we make it simpler to do, especially when I have a simple use case. I shouldn't have to go through 18 steps.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, great.
But that coming forward, that's stuff that's being worked on. That's not coming in Washington specifically to come through. That's just efforts we're working on to simplify that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adam. And thank you, RJ, for getting on that one. So after that, we had another Q&A or Ask the Experts sessions. And again, these are open discussion, first come, first serve. So all of these can definitely be unique. There could be questions that are asked from one to the next one, quite possible, but all of the questions that are in these. And I would suggest for anybody that's on this call to check out these sessions. It could stimulate a question for you, or you could possibly have a question. And what I would say even as well is that if you did have a question that you were at the point where you were going to ask within the community, I would almost check out these sessions first, just to make sure that the question's not already been answered. And again, I make it very simple for you. Those questions are listed out in the community event. And so you can look right through that. And if there is an answer and it's someone that did it live, it'll take you directly to that, or if there's a type answer. So again, if you have a question that you're going to go to the community with, check out these sessions. Quite possibly could be. And if you've not been to one, I would definitely encourage you to come to these, even if you're just listening, right? Even if you don't necessarily have to have a question to come to these. I think that there's some great logic and insight that could be delivered to you of things maybe that you hadn't even thought about that could be brought up within any one of these sessions. Customers are asking for more and more of these, and we see that. So these will be 2, 3, 4 times a year. We're thinking once a quarter. These are important for people to have. So make sure you check that out. Okay, so the next one that we had was performance analytics templates for process mining. Incredibly great session around process mining and how you can use it inside of performance analytics. And we had a guest speaker. And if you don't know Dan Grady, if you've never experienced one of his sessions, I would tell you to definitely do it. Dan is a guy that almost always speaks at Knowledge. So if you have never heard him speak, he does it very, very well. So check that out if you have questions around process mining, if you've looked at it and haven't done anything with it. If you have questions around how does it work with platform or performance platform analytics, what can I do there? It is now one of those things that you can actually embed directly into Next Experience. So again, if you have questions around what that means and what you can do with it, he did do some demos where he actually showed setting some things up and actually showing the routes and what was going on with it, and really telling you, giving you some great insights about different things as it relates to that. And then, of course, he showed that directly within a dashboard itself, and the fact that you can actually see that there. But even beyond seeing that information, understanding that information. So I would definitely suggest that you check this session out if you have any questions around process mining, or what does it mean? How does it work? How do I use it? And then after all of that, how do you make it work with platform analytics? This is definitely the session, and you will not leave it without learning something, because Dan Grady is really good at explaining this stuff. This is truly his baby, quote unquote. So anybody want to add anything to that? right. Silence is gold. So right after that, we came to the second half of the year where we had another release, and we did, a what's new in Vancouver, again, platform analytics related. And, the things that we talked about was the usability improvements and new improved data visualization and filter enhancements. And we actually showed those and talked about those. We had a guest inbound speaker that talked about all these different things, and then actually demoed all of this stuff. Now, after this session, because we were changing sort of the way that we were saying things, and platform analytics experience has become what we're going for now. We decided that we needed to have some sessions that really talked about that and what it meant, and then also talk about the future, some things that are going to happen. And the gentleman that's on the call now, RJ, actually led a call where he talked about what the future is going to look like, how you can, what's there, what's available now, what's coming in the future. So safe harbor around all of this, how you can actually take analytics to the next level. And it was just an incredible opportunity to see some information and see what it's going to be able to do, and how much powerful that we're actually making it. And he demoed and he showed and he presented a really great information and showed all of that. And that was, again, one of those situations where it was like, it just was not enough time in 60 minutes. And so we decided that we needed to have a part two. So we had a part two that was kind of like a short amount of talk and demo, but then we actually opened it up. So we gave all that information, which was a lot of information. And of course, then there were many questions that needed to be answered as well. So we took that as a Q&A directly around platform analytics to the next level. And it was just a really good session that we had. And again, if you're interested in that, to even see it, to see the demo, to just hear the conversation around, what's available and what's coming and the great things around that, these are two sessions that the first one, at a minimum, you should definitely check out. But if you then wanted to hear the questions that were asked and answered, then you would definitely want to check this session out as well. And I actually will give RJ the opportunity. Anything you want to add to that, RJ?
Not really. I think the only thing that I would say is the intent with both of the session, but especially the first, was to really highlight the one of the main questions that we got is, okay, you've been talking about all those features and all those capabilities and all that analytics product value that's in what we back then called the Platform Analytics Workspace. Now, why should we actually be using that? So we really, within those sessions, try to put it around that why question, around what is the value proposition of this thing? Like, what are those main areas that you should move, and that you would go there and that you would use it in this new way? So indeed, like what you mentioned, Thomas, please have a go through them. I think there's a lot of information I gave, and the questions actually in the second part are really good as well. So we did to our ability to answer those, and there's much more to follow, and maybe you'll even add some more in this session, as in the following sessions that we did, and even into the next year, there will be many more sessions around specifically how we try to enable you to actually make that move easier.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And again, those questions that were asked are on that community. That part two are on that community page as well, for you to definitely check that out. So good. Thank you, RJ. So after that, we're coming towards the end of the year, and we're wrapping up some things. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about was mastering data relationships. Again, right? Not one of those, I guess I would call flashy sessions where the fluff and frill of seeing visualizations and all that stuff. But these are so important, and understanding all of these different things. And I know that this session itself has been viewed a lot on YouTube, because people are looking for this information. So again, a really great deep dive into dot walking, related list conditions, remote tables, and database views was what this session was about. And again, that was the agenda. So it was an introduction, right? An introduction to dot walking and how it can be used and where you can use it and all of that information. And then we tried to, or we talked then about related list conditions and where you can use those and how much powerful it can be for you as it relates to filtering and things of that nature. So using that information, remote tables. So this was something that, if you're not familiar with, and there's information that you need to bring into the platform, and you utilizing remote tables to do all of that information. And then one of the big ones, database views. So the ability is there to create database views, but giving some real practical guidance around using them and when to use them, and making sure that when you do use them, that you're actually writing them in an efficient manner. And again, all of these different things here give you the ability to what I would call to tie information together, right? Multiple locations pulling it together, how you can do it, making filtering work much better. And again, this was a session that is more, you need to understand what all these things are. Are you familiar with everywhere that you can use these? And if you have been using them, are you using them the best way, the most efficient way? Are there better ways that you can actually do that? And that's what we tried to get out of this session, was to actually give you the ability to have some demos that you could refer back to. And of course, as well, some content, some information that you could read and have available to you to actually look at all of that information and then use it wherever that you need to. And then, do you need a database? Can you get what you need from dot walking? It was those kind of scenarios. And again, there was definitely some demos there to talk about that. So did we have questions come in about that, or what do we got here?
We have a different question about templates of objects, but just for the sake of time, I want to make sure we get through our topics and then maybe address this.
Sure.
So RJ, I'll probably ask you some questions on that too. So be prepared.
Okay. All right, great. The next one we did, and I think Adam had to drop, unfortunately, and was we did leveraging Gen AI for analytics code assist. Adam did this, and again, I put him up there highly of the likes of Dan Grady as well. Adam puts on really great sessions, and this was that first opportunity to see Gen AI as it relates to creating things for analytics. And if you're not familiar with that, this is something that, is very, very, very powerful. And, if you have the access to do it and things like that, this would be a great session for you to check out, to get understanding, and then also see how it works. And that's what Adam did. He showed, Now Assist for Creator and for Flow Designer and for code. And he actually showed some examples real time of how to put that in there. He typed some phrases and some things popped up, and that's what Gen AI is for us. So Adam showed that. Another great session, very powerful session, especially if you're using that or if you plan to in the future. And, anytime that we can cross-pollinate and actually use a great tool as Gen AI inside of analytics to make it do some things, it's a win-win. And this was an opportunity for you to actually see that. So definitely check that out if you have the time, especially if now or even in 2024, you find yourself having to actually use some of that. That would be a great session for you to check that out. We got a couple more and then we'll be done. So we talked about moving analytics content from core UI to next experience. And again, one of our inbounds, Marta, was on here, and she did that. And she talked about the fact that now we have created a solution, a tool for you to take those things that would be in the core UI and actually move those over to the next experience, and getting ready for that and things that you should do around that. And they kind of give you an idea of what will happen in Washington, Xanadu, and Yokohama. And she talked about that. So again, safe harbor, forward-looking things of that sort. But then she actually showed, some before and afters of what it's going to look like when everything gets moved over, when you make that decision to move everything over. She went through all of that and talked about that in great length with some really good demos. And I know that there were some really great questions that came out of that as well, which then sort of encouraged us to have a session that followed that up around housekeeping solutions for performance analytics. So this session, who was put on by the great Tara and Dan, who are my teammates, they did a great job, where they talked about some different housekeeping solutions that you could do in preparation for, migrating over, not necessarily that exclusively, but that was our intent, is to go for that. But really some housekeeping solutions that you should just be thinking about all the time anyway, because quite often things can get busy and things can get full and things can get created. And then you're asking yourself what's out there and what's good, what's not. And so what Dan and Tara did was to try to give you some ideas around some different ways that you can look at that. We did it as a pre-migration cleanup, but it was an opportunity to prune and look for duplicates and some scans, suggestions, and to organize. And then we had some Q&A around that, and they talked about what's not being used and what you should do with it, and organization prior to migration, what you should be doing in preparation for migrating over, and then instant scan. They talked about instant scan, which gives you the ability to look at some different things that were there. So a great follow-up session to the one of moving core UI over to Next Experience. And again, if you're in that position where you're going to do that, I would definitely recommend watching this one and maybe looking at some of the things, if not all the things that they talked about in this session prior to that migration, to make sure that it does go smoother. Dan and Tara, I will ask if there's anything that you'd like to add to that.
No, I think that was good. It's just also just keep the eye out for we do have a community page that's a work in process, but I think I think when you talk about resources at the end, I just want to make just a quick reference to that too. We're going to continue. We started a couple things out there now, but we're going to keep adding to that page where and you can also give your own suggestions in the comments on the page that I'm talking about to your own ideas that you can share with others on some of the housekeeping you might do.
Yeah, and I actually appreciate you bringing that up, Dan, because I did I forgot to put that. So I'm glad that you brought that up. But there is, like Dan said, there is a community page that it's an ongoing one that we're calling Platform Analytics Housekeeping. So you'll see this information out there, and then you'll also see other things that we add to it. So thank you, Dan, for bringing that up. And then the last session, which was 2 weeks ago, we had another Ask the Experts, another great session. All of the questions are there, timestamp chapters in the YouTube video that you can go directly to those questions. And again, if you have a question, check these sessions out before you actually ask that in the community. Very good chance that there is a solution or an answer that was actually given. So I know that we're kind of strapped here on time, but we had some really, really, really great sessions in 2023, and we had some really great sessions at Knowledge K23 as well. If you went, hopefully we met everybody. We try as hard as we can to bring content that is good for you, the customers, and definitely let us know in the surveys, and you have been doing that, if there's other sessions that you would actually like to see. So please let us know. Another thing that I want to talk about real quick, and then we'll get to the question that Dan had live, is something that RJ and I are actually putting together a community where now we're actually going to give you a collateral library. This is not public yet. This will be out in January of 2024, where it's actually going to give you the ability to watch really quick videos, 1, 2, 3 minute videos showing you how to do different things. So for example, in how to, we're going to show you, how to export a data visualization, share a dashboard, all the different things as it relates to Next Experience. We're trying as hard as we can to give you some videos. And this will be another one of those things that does grow. We are constantly adding information to that, quick little videos that you can use not only for yourself, but also as a great tool, a training tool for the customers that you have within your organization when you're teaching them how to do things, if they have the ability to create dashboards and visualizations and things of that sort. We want to make sure that we gave you some collateral that you could actually use for training inside of your organization as well. So, and again, that will be in January of next year, which is a month away. So, are we able to help with the PA collateral library? What I would suggest, Drew, is when we get it posted, if there is some information that you possibly have, hit us up on that actual community blog and make a comment that you have some stuff, or you can email me directly. It's just thomas.davis@ServiceNow, and then we can look at if you do have some information that you've created, if we can use that as well. And we definitely appreciate you offering that up as well. So, and then real quick, and then we'll get to that question. So next year, some of the sessions that we have on the roadmap that we're going to look at, we're going to do some champion enablement with an actual customer. We're going to get a customer to actually come on and talk about how they make PA work for them. We're going to talk about the inline editor. Of course, we have a What's New in Washington. That'll be in the first quarter. We'll have another Ask the Experts. We'll do some governance around platform analytics, and CMDB Builder will do some real use cases. If you're not familiar with CMDB Builder, we have a couple sessions that we already have done in the past, but we wanted to step it up and get some real use cases. We're going to do a getting started with PAE, Platform Analytics Experience. Of course, K24 is coming. We have some really great sessions that are coming there. Indicator on metrics and next experience. Formula indicators, use cases. This is one that Adam's going to do. He has some really great use cases when it talks about certification management, PA artifacts, proactive analytics, which is something that is new. We're going to talk about that. And then UIB, we're going to talk about that. Now, that does not cover the whole year, but this is where we have till about close to July, August is what we're looking at right now. But that is some great things that we have coming next year. And with that, Dan, if you want to go ahead and get that question.
Yeah, I just want to briefly, there's a question about templates. Can we build templated indicators, metrics, data collection jobs, reports, dashboards, etc., similar to how we can create templated applications in AES, Application Engine Studio? So there's a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is kind of. So, for example, reports and data visualizations, or the charts and filters, those are all starting with in the next experience world. We have the visualization library that you can save all of will be kind of the templates of each of those types of objects. The other types of objects don't specifically have a template functionality, but I do know customers that actually create dashboards that as kind of a template, and then when their internal users want to take something from it, they just do an insert and stay of that. It's where you certainly could go to the extent of, if it's more of a full solution, you could actually make an application in AES based around a dashboard that has, especially if you had to create any kind of custom stuff for it. I've actually seen some of that too. We actually build it as an application that somebody could that someone could access. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. And then Robert, Jan, did you have any other thoughts on what might be coming in the future, or anything I've said wrong in that?
Specifically on the first one, right? Because I was actually typing an answer.
The templates idea.
Yeah. So templating always has been this. Sorry, that what?
No, just the visualization library, but it's another. But yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah. So the specifically on templates, that always has been this thing, as in, do we want to create templates for dashboards that already show some sort of fixed structure with fixed data, with fixed querying and so on, where the dashboard is like the best dashboards are always created specifically, like uniquely for their audience consuming it. So there's always been this sort of thing of like, how do we handle that? It's absolutely in the thoughts of us of let's see where we can help bringing good structure, making it easier to create meaningful KPIs, reports, dashboards. One of the things that's actually already in the new environment is just the fact that now you can easily duplicate things, right? You can easily duplicate your data visualizations, your filters, your tabs, your entire dashboard. So that could actually already be a sort of workaround if you need to start with something and then just duplicate that start and then make it more unique for that specific audience with their needs, with their requirements.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you both. Drew, I don't know if that was a comment about what you and I were talking about.
Yeah, I think it's something that we should probably maybe just take as maybe we should take up with the process mining team to see if there's any issues with getting that on a PDI instance. Because it was a question about like the process optimization or process mining.
Okay.
And for just testing and playing with it.
Okay. All right, so we have about a minute. So just real quick, you've probably seen some of these slides before. Again, thank you all for joining. We really appreciate a great year. It was some really good sessions, and I'm completely grateful for all the guest speakers and people like Dan and RJ and Tara and Adam and Isak and Dan Grady and Marta and Olga, like all the people, we really do hit these as a team, and we try as hard as we can to bring really great content. And we hope that you all are definitely satisfied with some of the things that we're doing and looking forward to the future. But as usual, you can check us always out on the community. All this information will be there. The pro tips, now learning information is there. And with that, if you celebrate, happy holidays. Take some time off, enjoy family. We'll see everybody again next year. And thank you all, as usual, for joining. Thank you.